MTG Scoundrels, it's in the cardboard. Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Weekly. This week on the docket, we have Jeskai Control versus Mono Green Eldrazi. Two decks that become staples of the format in one way or another. Jeskai Control generally taking advantage of energy, as well as phlage, and the Mono Green Eldrazi list trying to land Trinisphere and knock your opponent out of being able to cast more than one spell per turn. Looks like started off here with a land and passing. Well, no, not quite. Looks like pre-game action. Gemstone Caverns exiling a World Breaker, which is a choice. Must have another 7-drop in hand. Alright, so we went from turn 0 to turn 1, untapped Steam Vents passing. Alright. E-Temple into Fanatic of Ronus, and that will get Stern Scolded countered. Playing a land and passing here. There's the green source. There's a Sowing Mycospawn. Reading the text here, saying the cast trigger. Finding the Eldrazi Temple. When you can turn 3 Sowing Mycospawn, find your next land source. Your opponent's still on 2 lands, you're sitting there on 4. That's a pretty good start. Of course, Jeskai Control has many ways of catching back up. There's a Galvanic Discharge to get rid of the Sowing Mycospawn. Untapping and drawing. Flooded Strand, cracking. Finding a Hallowed Fountain, going to 15. And there is the card that makes this Jeskai list go, at least win the game, I should say. There is Phlage, dealing 3, gaining 3. Shifting Woodland for the Mono Green Eldrazi player. Seven mana already available. Looks like Kozilek's Command. Exiling the entire graveyard and probably making some spawns here. Kozilek's Command being main deck graveyard hate is making it into the number 1K command in the format. And who would have thought Kozilek's Command would outdo Kolaghan's Command, but here we are. Nope, decided not to make the spawns, decided to scry and then draw. There's a Teferi Time Raveler. Taking down no targets, drawing a card. Bountiful Landscape. And we'll start off with a Drowner of Secrets here. It's a solid 7/6. That'll do the job. That'll make 2 Eldrazi spawn. Sometimes a vanilla 7/6 that makes a little bit of mana will do the job for you. And there's a Trinisphere. Alright. Mono Green so far doing what it wants to do. Teferi ticking up. Drowner of Secrets taking out the Teferi. And there is a Wumpus. Apparition. 4 mana 6/6 trample. Jeskai player here fetching. Finding a Plains. Well, that's a good card to follow up with. Just cast a One Ring. Protection from all abilities. Or, excuse me, protection from everything. And tap to draw a card. Put a counter on it. As of right now, we'll be taking 1 damage in the upkeep. Question being here is how much do you overload the board? Jeskai Control, of course, running multiple sweepers. But sometimes you just have to make them have it. There's a Boseiju, which doesn't take out a Trinisphere. Here's a 6. And looks like, yep, eternalizing the Fanatic of Ronas. So here we are taking 1 damage off the One Ring. We're going to tap it, draw 2 cards after drawing for turn. Arid Mesa for land for turn. And do another copy of the One Ring. Passing. A blank Thought-Knot Seer due to the protection of the One Ring. Probably could have just held that back, but decided not to. 6 is going to get in here. Put a land to hand from the 3 milled. Which gives 2 options here to retrace. Between the Fanatic of Ronas yep. 6 mana. Retracing. Kicking the Sowing Mycospawn. Exiling the Steam Vents. And finding another Eldrazi Temple. Fetching on end step for the Jeskai player. Finding another, well, finding the Thundering Falls here. the Surveil land. Untapping, taking one from the One Ring. Lots of looks to find that card. Supreme Verdict. The Jeskai player will draw if the Thought-Knot Seer dying. Now luckily cards like Shifting Woodland, which is on the board here, gives the Eldrazi player a lot of room to lose their board but still attack in with a 7/6 if it's in their bin. Can also possibly, well, that's a World Breaker. Sometimes that's all you need. Exile the One Ring so they don't draw as many cards. And now they have to answer a 5/7. And there is a Manamo, which in this case, when you're playing cards like the One Ring, means you're going to have an abundance of card advantage. Not that the Jeskai player is hurting for it at the moment. Looks like discarding the Force of Negation. An Eldrazi player cracking the bountiful landscape, finding a forest. In a lot of ways, just doing this to thin the deck a little bit. Eldrazi player probably looking over to see if it was worth it to activate 6, or activate the Shifting Woodland, copying 6. Deciding ultimately not to here. Drawing 3 cards on the end step after the activation of Manamo. Taking 3 damage. Well, excuse me, taking 2 damage. Drawing 3 cards. And why not try 3? Why not draw 3 more? Arid Mesa. Interesting decision point here. You're staring down a 5/7. Looks like is deciding going to pass the turn here. going down to hand size. They're going down to 7 cards for their hand in the cleanup here. Jeskai staring down lethal to a certain extent, but there is a lot of options. And especially when you see that they just bend to Wrath of the Skies and a few other things. Makes you think a time or two about what your next decision is going to be. Activating Shifting Woodland. Copying 6 here. To retrace a Thought-Knot Seer. That's an invert polarity. Previously on the channel, we've seen invert polarity steal a phlage. That alone is impressive. It looks like here, it's going to end up stealing a Thought-Knot Seer. Maybe. First roll wasn't right. Second roll, stealing the Thought-Knot Seer, Fanatic of Ronus, going into exile. Worldbreaker attacking in. Thought-Knot Seer blocking. Mono Green player will draw a card off of that. The thing we will not know is if we just copied the 7/6 in the bin, if that would have ended up being enough. But on end step, there's a Galvanic Discharge, dealing with the Worldbreaker. Taking 3 damage here. 8 to 17. And drawing 4 cards. There's a phlage. Bringing us to 11 to 14. It's a good way not to die to your own One Ring. Land for turn, taking 2 off the steam vents. Looks like flashing back, or excuse me, not flashing back, escaping the phlage. Just a casual double lightning helix. Discarding a card for turn and passing. The Eldrazi player pretty lucky that phlage did not have haste. There's no Arena of Glory out in play. Alright, there's a Thought-Knot Seer, and that is a hand of cards. Exiling the Wrath of the Skies. Into Devour Destiny, exiling the phlage, and passing the turn. Talk about a swingy matchup here. Sitting at 8 to 11. A plentiful hand of cards for the Jeskai player. Still not finding what they want. Manamo untapping the One Ring to draw 5 more cards. Playing another One Ring for the protection. No more phlage. Going down to hand size. Didn't find an Arena of Glory either. Has a lot of cards to choose from. If I was an Arena player right now, I would be hating life, but luckily, not having to deal with a rope here. There's the pass. Untapping. Definitely still has some counter spells in hand. And there's a recurable threat. Bringing the World Breaker back to hand by sacking the Boseiju. Probably one of the things that the Mono Green Eldrazi player is thinking about is exiling that One Ring, so that way the Jeskai player can't play Teferi and just loop with the One Ring over and over. Passing the turn. Dangerously activating the One Ring here to draw a card. Not many cards left in that deck. Playing Surveil Land. Surveilling the card away. Activating Manamo to draw 2 more cards. There is a Teferi in hand, by what I can tell. There is the Teferi. Activating Teferi, putting the One Ring back to hand. Replaying the One Ring. Going down to 7 cards. Not activating the One Ring. Untapping, drawing. Contemplating what to do with the 7 mana here. Also probably debating what to do with a shifting woodland. Okay. Casting the Worldbreaker. Attacking Teferi. And passing the turn. At this point, you're not really that worried about any activations of the One Ring. And scooping it up from there, no clear answers. Game 1 going to Mono Green Eldrazi. There had to be a phlage or two in those last 3 cards. But that is what it is sometimes. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. We're deep into modern RCQ season. And August 26th can't come soon enough. It'll be the Monday after this video goes up. Hopefully the bird shall be dead. Long live the bird. Jeskai probably bringing in the consigns to memory here. A little bit more creature interaction as well. Mono Green player. Probably bringing in another copy of Gemstone Caverns. Maybe a little bit to deal with the One Ring in terms of activations. Of course, on Jeskai Control here, we have Noah, who has been on the channel playing mostly 5-color Omnath decks, but does branch out occasionally. And on the right, we have Jason, of course, the Eldrazi player in the meta. One to also break out a solid creature combo list. Now, if you enjoy the decks that are being played, check the description below. There will be deck lists as well as timestamps for the individual games. And if you're interested in tokens for your deck, definitely give our friends over at Arcane Artistry a gander. Check out their food, clue, and treasure tokens in the stained glass style. They are made out of acrylic, and they are wonderful tokens. You line them up, they do make a panorama. And soon you may in fact also start seeing playmats as well as other tokens. But definitely check out Arcane Artistry. Link to their Etsy shop in the description below. Making those food clues and treasures. Both players looking at the hands, just trying to make sure they're all set for game number 2. Game 2 starting, revealing Devourer of Destiny, Flooded Strand, and then Devourer of Destiny trigger. Putting a 1 on top, exiling 3 cards, including a Sowing Mycospawn there. One of the more effective cards in this matchup. Starting with a Shifting Woodland. Now, playing a tapped land on turn 1, not the worst for the Eldrazi player, considering their deck pretty much starts out at 2 mana. There's a Thundering Falls for the Jeskai player, fetching on the end step. Keeping it on top, untapping and drawing. Arid Mesa and pass. There is a Fanatic of Ronus. Now, it is interesting to see where a lot of the Eldrazi lists have gone. You've seen Through the Breach gone more towards talismans. And it looks like the Fanatic is going to be countered there. Of course, this list running Fanatics. There was a Surveil land, keeping it on top. Trinosphere. Would be surprised if this stands. Eating a Consign to Memory. It usually isn't too good for the Mono Green player. But Trinosphere does slow them down a lot. Now granted, sometimes you have the One Ring, and that's just how it goes. Casting a 6. Jeskai Control taking a damage off the One Ring. Tap Hallowed Fountain. And there's a phlage. Dealing 3 to the 6, gaining 3 life. And Galvanic Discharge finishing off the 6, leaving 2 energy left over. Bringing us to 17 to 20. And Kozilek's return. Or excuse me, Kozilek's command. Exiling the phlage. And 3 other cards. Well, 2 other cards, excuse me, because X was 3. Passing the turn. Activating the One Ring after taking 2 damage, bringing us to 15 to 20. Plenty of mana to work with. All right. There's a Sold Guy Lantern. Took a second to recognize it with the fancy artwork there. However, exiling the 6 Sideways Shifting Woodland can't get the 6. It's a pretty strong play. There's another copy of the One Ring. and passing the turn. And there's Worldbreaker. Going after the One Ring here, trying to exile it. Jeskai player will draw a card. And there's a Consign to Memory. Doesn't have enough to replicate it here. So the One Ring will still get exiled, but there is no 5/7 on the board for the Eldrazi player. And there's an Arena of Glory. By the looks of it, this is where the game might get shut down. There's phlage, bringing us to 18 to 17. Now exiling 5 cards from the graveyard, escaping phlage, with Arena of Glory to give it haste, and then attacking. That's just so much damage. That'll bring us to 24 to 5. And then blowing up the Soul Guide Lantern to exile the bin. Not a lot you can do here. Now you have enough mana if you have the K command, which is really the only answer, to exile the phlage. There's a Thought-Knot Seer. Taking the Obsidian Charmaw, it'll get exiled. Though it's still sitting in the graveyard for a moment. There it goes into exile. And there's Teferi Time Raveler. And just scooping them up from there. Game 2 going to Jeskai Control. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. Let us know the decks you're looking forward to playing here in the format after Nadu is gone in the comments below. I would not be surprised if the energy decks are the best decks in the format once Nadu's gone. Boros Energy has so much card quality in every single one of its choices. And Mardu Energy is just such a house. We haven't yet got it on the channel, but I know a few people that are trying to play it. And we'll get it up when there's an opportunity to do so. Ob Nixilis, the new one from New Capenna. Really finding a home in Modern in that deck. Of course, Eldrazi will still be around through the breach will definitely still be a deck. Being able to bring back the new Ugin and Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Or not bring back specifically, but put them into play for a much cheaper cost. To make them have to deal with the Annihilator triggers. Still incredibly difficult to beat. And still gives you access to things like Kozilek's Return, which has been a wonderful sweeper for these Eldrazi decks to try to deal with the low to the ground Boros Energyless and just clearing out targets for Shuko and to for all those Nadu triggers. Looks like possibly going to 6 here. Putting one back, starting with a forest and passing the turn. Flooded Strand and pass. Ugin's Lab, no 7-drop. Flooded Strand being cracked. Not sure if it's going to get countered here with another Stern Scolding. Stern Scolding really only has a couple of targets, so it probably got boarded out. There's the Steam Vents, though. Going to 17. Maybe we will, in fact, see a counter here. Nope, just to tune the narrative. Gaining energy, drawing a card, and then drawing a card for turn. If there's one thing the Jeskai deck doesn't need, it's more card advantage. Galvanic Discharge, taking care of the Fanatic of Ronus with the excess energy left over from the end-step play. There is Damping Matrix. Activated abilities of artifacts cannot be activated. Which should slow down the One Ring. But granted, once you get phlage going, sometimes that just is enough to be something you just can't answer. There's a Trinisphere. That'll lead a consign to memory. Both players playing at a frantic pace to finish off the match before the timer. Halofatin coming in untapped. Playing Dress Down, just to draw the card. On the end step, but also so that way you can play phlage without having to deal with its evoke, or not its evoke, excuse me, without having to deal with the fact that it goes straight to the graveyard once it enters and it wasn't cast by an escape. 6 being cast here. Phlage attacking in. Taking 6. untapped Sacred Foundry for a Teferi. Bouncing the 6 to draw a card, passing the turn. 4th land. A Wumpus is a 6/6. If it stays on the battlefield, that'll deal with a phlage. However, there are more than 5 cards in the bin already. So that's just delaying things here. Upticking the Teferi. Wumpus getting in the way. Wumpus, of course, dying after attacking. And then phlage will be escaped, bringing us to 21-5. Gotta find another answer for it. Untapping, drawing. Shifting Woodland, which could technically become the card you need it to be. However, looks like casting the Kozilek's Command for 3. Tune the narrative here. Gaining energy. Phlage will be exiled. Make 3 Eldrazi spawns. Pass the turn. And sometimes you just have the 3rd copy of phlage. That'll go to the bin. Bring us to 24-2. Teferi gets uptick. And the real question is, what do you play here? Passing the turn. There is a Bountiful Landscape for land for turn. Still 2 mana up. Copying a Wumpus here. I guess trying to take out the Teferi. It's a dangerous call, but I guess the thought is you already have 3, but yeah, you're going to be able to put enough cards in the bin. Yep. There's the Galvanic Discharge. That was going to end up doing it. Would have had 5 cards to be able to escape for the phlage to finish the game off. Game, set, match. Go into Jeskai Control. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. And we will see you all on the other side of the Nadu banning. Have a great week.